welcome to the No Spin News for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Stand up for your country. Well, President Trump tomorrow going to North Carolina, California, Vegas. He's got to fix FEMA. It's not operating the way it should be. And we, the people, pay into this emergency fund to help our fellow citizens. And poor people in western North Carolina got hosed. People in Florida, now out in California. And we got to be able to deliver services to them. And FEMA's got to be redesigned top to bottom. So I think President Trump knows that. And I'm glad he's going to boost the spirits of the folks in North Carolina and hopefully in LA, where there's more fires. And we'll keep an eye on that. It'll be interesting to see how Newsom behaves out there, or if the Trump people say, don't even bother to show up, Governor, which they have the power to do. So Newsom can't just intrude, right? So we're on all this. It's obvious the president's really shaking things up, causing controversy, as he always does. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So the presidential pardon continues. I talked about it on WABC Radio with Sid Rosenberg this morning. We've posted that on BillO'Reilly.com. You know my position because I stated it yesterday. I wrote a in detail message about how most of the Jan 6 protesters were brutalized by the Justice Department. That's true. They did commit crimes. That's true. Two things can be true at once. And I would have set up a review of 3-judge panel to look at the violent convictions against the cops. And then they would have written a recommendation to President Trump. I would not have pardoned them outright. And the reason is that the president should always do what's best for the country, right? And sometimes that's hard. A lot of times that's hard. But here, if we want the rule of law, we have to have protections for police. Have to. And, there's all kinds of stuff like, the people who attack the police have served enough time. That's not our job here. That's not it. But I think that 170 cases of alleged violence, convicted violence, need to be reviewed. I think that's fair. Anyway, there are a number of things going on, particularly in the pardon situation. So let's just review it so you understand it. So Article 5 of the Constitution gives the power to the people to overturn the Constitution. So a lot of people say, we don't want this presidential pardon anymore. Don't want it because it's been abused. And it has to some extent throughout history, not just now. But the Founding Fathers put it in there for a reason. I'll explain it in a moment. But if you want to boot it out, there are a couple of ways you do it. 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate. So they'd have to vote on it. 2/3 have to say, yeah, we want it out. And then it goes back to the states, and the state legislatures, 3/4 of them, 38 out of 50, have to approve what the federal Congress has approved. That's a very heavy lift, obviously, in a polarized country, so it's not going to happen. Presidential pardon is going to stay there. And then you get into, what about a president pardoning himself? Because Joe Biden's still in trouble. President Biden's still in trouble. He didn't pardon himself, pardoned his family, but not himself. Well, the constitutionality of that is vague. There is no precise wording. Here's what it says. Quote, the president shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Against the United States, not him. Okay? So there are people who believe that president can pardon himself. President Trump said, I don't understand why Biden didn't pardon himself. That's not in there. It has to go to the Supreme Court. If that ever happened, would have to rule. Now, Donald Trump's under some fire for the pardons of the violent people at the Capitol. And here's what he said last night about his pardons. Go.
it would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been. This should not have happened. And the other thing is this: some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents. Okay, you know, they get built up by a couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to dispute that. But in the case of violence, again, I think it needs to be reviewed by a panel of federal judges. I think that's the fair way to do it, but it's not going to happen. It's already done. The presidential pardon has been issued. It's not going to be rescinded. You cannot challenge it. That is that. All right. So the situation with Joe Biden is that he is still out there. And there are going to be congressional investigations into him about whether he took money. That's what it's all about. Now, I have Congressman Comer who's going to lead those investigations. He's got a new book out coming up. They talk about what he knows, how he knows it, how this is going to advance. But Joe Biden's, he's in trouble. All right? It's not like he's just going to go off. He's in trouble. And we'll get into that. And that's the memo. Okay, now we have a guy who was convicted for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. His name is Brandon Straka, comes to us from D.C. He got a pardon. Initially, he pled guilty to disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, October 2021, received 36 months probation, including 3 months home detention, $5,000 fine, $500 restitution. You do not believe you were treated fairly in this case. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah, absolutely not.
In a nutshell, don't go in the weeds. What was unfair?
Well, the details of my case weren't true. So important for people to know, I didn't enter the Capitol on January 6th. I was outside of the east side of the building for 8 minutes shooting a video. So there are 4 major details of my case that were blatant fabrications by the FBI and DOJ. One was that I entered into a restricted area of Capitol grounds and knew that the area was restricted, but did it anyway. When I arrived at Capitol grounds, and by the way, I was a scheduled speaker at a permitted event on Capitol grounds. So not the area where I was, but on an outer area of the grounds, I was supposed to be a speaker. But I started getting text messages saying that something was happening at the Capitol and people were going inside. So I started shooting a video and I approached the Capitol from the east side. The barricades at the time were fully open. There were no signs indicating that people were not allowed to be there. There were literally 0 police officers on the east side of the building when I was there. And there was a crowd of thousands of people standing outside. So I walked up the open sidewalk and into a crowd of thousands of people. And this is when, according to the DOJ, I committed my first felony. So they charged me with a felony charge of occupying restricted grounds. In other words, a trespassing felony outside of the Capitol. But then I walked to the top of the stairs. And when I got to the top of the stairs, the doors on the east side of the Capitol were open. There were a crowd of several hundred people. Some were trying to push their way in. The majority, like me, were standing outside shooting a video. I stood outside of the building for 8 minutes shooting a video. And then a man came out of the building, got on a bullhorn and said, "They've cleared Congress. Everyone's left the building. Move out, move out." And I immediately turned around and I left. And then I uploaded that video that I had just shot to Twitter. 2.5 weeks later, I was raided by the FBI. A team of agents in tactical gear came into my apartment, began stripping it of computers, phones, hard drives, iPads, etc., put me in handcuffs and took me to jail and told me I was facing multiple felony charges for what I had done.
Let me stop you there. So you never went inside the Capitol building?
I did not enter the Capitol on January 6th.
All right. You were outside. All right.
Correct.
So they come in and they arrest you. Now, you hired
Yes.
an attorney, guy named Stuart Dornan, right?
Correct.
Now, did you have to pay for him?
I did. I had a private attorney.
Okay. And what did he tell you when you hired him?
So when I met with my attorney, what he had told me was that I was facing multiple felonies, but that he had had a conversation with the prosecutor, and the prosecutor told him that they were open to dropping the felony charges if I was willing to plead guilty to a misdemeanor. The problem with that, I mean, besides the fact that I assert that I wasn't even guilty of a misdemeanor charge, unless perhaps you wanted to say I was in a restricted area and I was in the wrong place. Fine. But the problem is they didn't leave it at that. What they said was that I stood outside of the building shouting, "Go, go, go," to encourage people to go into the building, and that I witnessed the crowd taking a shield from an officer, and that I shouted, take it," to encourage the crowd
Do
to
they
take
have
the shield.
videotape of that?
No. So
Okay,
my
that was
case,
just the allegation. But
correct.
I'm interested in what your attorney told you, and then we'll get it. I'm not doubting your story. I want all my viewers and listeners. I'm not doubting Brandon's story at all. But I want to walk through the process so that everybody understands what you guys
Sure.
went through. Okay. So
Absolutely.
Dornan is your lawyer. You're paying Dornan out of your own pocket. And the government says, okay, plea it down, which happens all the time. Does Dornan recommend you plea it down?
A lawyer really can't recommend anything. What a lawyer can tell you is these are your options, and this is what I
my
think is
lawyers
going to
recommend Brandon all the time. Do this, do that, do this, do that. I don't know about this guy, but you're telling that he was neutral on this? He didn't say plea it down or fight it? He didn't give you one of the two?
What he told me was that we could fight it all the way to the end if we wanted to, but we both knew, and I didn't need to be told, that we were going before a DC judge and a DC jury in a very biased political case, and that the likelihood of being successful at trial was very, very small.
But they didn't have hard evidence of what they were accusing you of, which is inciting a riot. Go, go, go with it. There's no evidence at all in discovery. Dornan didn't find anything like that. It was no smoking gun, to use a cliche. Is that correct?
Well, there was no smoking gun, but when I stood outside the building and I filmed, my camera captured somebody grab a shield from one officer who walked by, and you could hear voices in the background shouting, take it, take it. It's quite obvious.
It wasn't your voice.
The voices were not mine.
Okay.
I didn't.
All right. And again, I'm
place.
believing you. I'm like the Ghostbusters. All right. I'm believing you. All right. So you sign the guilty plea, and it's disorderly conduct, and then you have to go through a 3-month ordeal, a 3-year ordeal of probation, of home confinement, of fines. All right. Do you regret signing that guilty plea now?
Yes, I don't think I would have changed, because to me, I've always said it wasn't a question of how do I win and how do I lose. When you're going up against the government, the question is, how do you lose the least? For me, the only path forward to lose the least and to come out of this with some of my life intact was to plead guilty to the misdemeanor charge, which I do not believe.
You wouldn't do it again. If in hindsight, you would have fought it.
If your question is, would I take the plea deal again? The answer is yes.
You would take it again. All right. So for you, President Trump's pardon is A, legitimate, B, a kindness. Would that be accurate?
I'm sorry, Bill, I'm having trouble with my signal. Could you repeat what you said?
For you, President Trump's pardon was a kindness.
I would say that Trump's pardon, yes, I would describe it as a kindness, but I think that it was a level of justice for all of us, because I think what a lot of people don't understand is the punishment that all of us have faced that has gone even outside of the judicial branch. I mean, the brutality that all of us have faced for January 6th goes far beyond what we were sentenced to. We were all placed on terrorism watch lists. We were all mass deplatformed and debanked and removed from every big tech platform that you can imagine. We had to fly with air marshals on our flights. We were treated like domestic terrorists and insurrectionists for 4 years.
Do you blame the Biden administration for that?
I'm sorry, do I?
Do you blame the Biden administration for that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm glad you got the pardon. I think you deserve the pardon. I wrote almost exactly what you said, Brandon, on BillO'Reilly.com yesterday. I hope you go and read it. And this is the first time we've ever talked. Okay?
That's right.
I said what they did was they terrorized these people on January 6th, the Merrick Garland Justice Department. For all of that, that's legit for what President Trump did. And we appreciate it. You're going to have, I hope, a very happy and productive life going forward. You're a young guy. If you ever need any help or you find that anything is inhibiting your life due to this, you call us immediately. And we'll help you. Okay?
Thank you, Bill. Thank
All right,
you.
Brandon. Okay, so I want to give fair coverage to this, and I think I have. And Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. Many of us are trying to get our finances in order to start the new year right. And that's great news for homeowners. Interest rates have dropped and are now in the 5s. So if you've been burned with high interest rate credit card debt, it's time to break free. American Financing can help you access the cash in your home to pay off your high interest debt. Last year, their salary-based mortgage consultants helped customers save an average of $800 a month. That's like giving yourself a $10,000 raise. What a way to start the new year. And if you begin today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So please call American Financing today, 800-906-2440. That's 800-906-2440. AmericanFinancing.net. Okay, on our YouTube channel, which is free for everybody, youtube.com/Bill O'Reilly, Zombies and Zealots. Are you a zombie or a zealot? Are you? That's what I'm talking about. You like it. It's free. We want you to go there. Let's go to the mail. Beth Patterson, Taylorsville, North Carolina. O'Reilly, you were spot on with your analysis. The pulpit should be not used as a political platform or a place to bring your personal opinion on worldly issues. He's talking about the far left bishop activists in D.C. who insulted Donald Trump. Kristen Cesares, La Viernia, Texas. I voted for Trump 3 times, yet I don't want the U.S. to spend a dime on investigating whether or not the Biden family took money. We already know they did, since Biden pardoned everyone except Jill. Goodbye and good riddance to them. So I disagree. We have a disagreement here, Kristen, but it's a polite disagreement. For history, we need to know if a sitting vice president or president took bribes. Period. We need to know as a nation. Not personal, historical. Willie, the rioters who assaulted police officers should not have been pardoned. End of story. And this is a divided thing. It's absolutely divided. There's no doubt about it. A lot of ideology in this, unfortunately. Tommy Ramazontz, Oak Forest, Illinois. Bill, I'm not completely sure, but can you research the DOJ? Can it investigate a pardoned person on another crime, but not the crime that has been adjudicated by the president? However, Congress can. They can. Christine O'Connor, Scottsdale, Arizona. I never heard anything from President Trump about drones. We're waiting. He says he's going to give us the skinny. Hope so. We're waiting. Tom Adair, Sandpoint, Idaho. Since the Lake and Riley Act looks like it'll become law, what are the chances of a case law being revisited? I'm working on it. Not easy to get people's attention these days, but we're working it. Elizabeth, concierge member, 2 of Virginia's flagship universities, University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, had hundreds of DEI personnel. Who is paying for those salaries? You were. If you live in a Commonwealth, you're paying for them. And they still exist. Because the president can't knock out DEI in state universities. Dave Turner, Concord, North Carolina. I don't agree with you all the time, Mr. O, but most of the time. Appreciate how, in a political system like ours, you hold both sides accountable. That's what we do. Paul Bergio, Manteca, California. I began watching No Spin News past election cycle. Boy, you're late to the table, but that's okay, Paul. And realize what I have been missing for a long time. Just finished confronting the presidents and the United States of Trump. Now I'm on to killing the rising sun. All right, now you're in. We have, I don't have time to do the touts, but go to our store, BillO'Reilly.com store, pick up some not woke gear. And word of the day, do not be supercilious. I use that word, and everybody looks at me like, what? Super, S-U-P-E-R, cilious, C-I-L-I-O-U-S. Back with a final thought in a moment. When your personal safety is threatened, you have a right to defend yourself, but it's your responsibility to do so wisely. You may want to reach right for your firearm, but many legal experts say that should be your last resort. Consider a tool that empowers you to de-escalate threats without taking a life. Byrna is a less lethal self-defense weapon with tear gas and kinetic impact ammunition. Its formidable power can stop a threat in its tracks. It's the difference between ending a confrontation and starting a tragedy. Made in the heart of America, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna is a symbol of strength and a beacon of responsibility. It's legal in all 50 states, no background checks required, and they even ship straight to your doorstep. So visit Byrna.com/Bill for an exclusive 10% discount. That's BYRNA.com/Bill.
Byrna products cannot be legally purchased or used in New York City or Yonkers. Byrna's pepper-based or tear gas projectiles cannot be purchased or used in New York State. Certain other states and localities restrict the purchase or use of Byrna products. Please check the law in your own state or municipality and any area you plan to travel to or through while carrying or possessing a Byrna product. For more information regarding restricted markets, please go to Byrna.com.
Last year, investors scored the highest profits in decades. Unfortunately, the rest of us were held back by stacks of bills and credit card debt. Well, Done with Debt has found a solution. They created a brilliant new strategy designed to tackle debt, put cash back into your hands, so you can finally save, invest, and live your life in comfort. Done with Debt goes head-to-head with credit card and loan companies. Their team of negotiators and legal experts work to significantly reduce your bills, eliminate interest, and erase penalties. Bottom line, Done with Debt helps turn crushing debt into financial freedom. But some of their strategies are time sensitive, so please don't wait. Get the life you deserve. Visit donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their strategists, absolutely free. Visit donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Okay, here's the final thought of the day, why DEA is wrong. So I support President Trump in knocking out all DEA for all federal agencies and any concern that gets federal money. No more DEA. Diversity, equity, inclusion. What that means is we favor people who have a certain skin color or lifestyle. Is that American? No. Is that Martin Luther King Jr.? No. Okay, it isn't. Now, the system in America, economic and political, should reward hard work. So if I'm a college admissions director and I get an admission from a zip code that I know is in distress, a bad place, and the student is doing very well, that goes as a big plus in that student's jacket. I don't know what color the student is. I don't know what the lifestyle is. But hard work should be taken into account in hiring and academia. Everybody agree? Anybody dissent? But not skin color. That's un-American. This DEI stuff is horrible. And I don't care if it's Costco or wherever it is, you guys need to take a look at that. I know you want to hire good people. Do it on merit. I love Costco, but do it on merit. And if you know the person applying for the job is from a kind of a dicey situation, then you hire them. Right? How to get that off my chest. Final thought. We'll have a brand new column on Sunday. We really appreciate you watching and listening to the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again on Monday. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.